Hey, friends, happy Friday. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. I have a lot of stuff going on behind me, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to let you know if you are new here, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Becca. This is my sewing room, and I go live almost every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for a couple of hours where I work on something fun, mostly sewing and quilting related, though occasionally I have been known to meddle in other crafty endeavors. So, what am I going to be working on tonight? Well, we're going to work on more of those, which I did a video for this past Tuesday. So in lieu of a recorded, edited, polished tutorial video this week, you guys got a live stream, and I taught you in 1 hour that block and told you what that block is and all the things for it. And so if you want to go back and see the step-by-step detailed tutorial, you can go check out Tuesday's video. It was called So My Daughter Asked for a Quilt, and the thumbnail says Zoey's Quilt, and it has those blocks on the thumbnail, so you can't miss it. Tonight I'm going to probably be making more of those because, oh, you guys, I got to make 80 of them, and you can see I only have 5 done. But before we talk about those blocks, let's talk about these blocks. So if you were here last week, you saw me start a mini Bargello using just a little bit of extra white fabric that I had laying around and 9 fat 8ths. And I was able to get 2 Bargellos that are around 20 inches by 20 inches when it was all said and done. Now, I want to let you know, I linked to a blog post or a pattern last week that talked about this and kind of gave me all the cutting instructions for it. And then I made it my own because I am a firm believer that everything in life is just a suggestion. It's just a recommendation. Speed limit signs, just a recommendation. Stop signs, strongly worded recommendation. Patterns, recommendation. Recipes, recommendation. It is always a place for you to start and be inspired and then make it your own. Now, if making it your own means you're following the letter to the law, you're not doing a mile an hour over that 45 mile an hour that's posted, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not upset with you. That is your choice. If you choose to make a quilt that follows every exact detail, every exact step in the pattern, including the fabric, that is your choice. That is your quilt. As long as you enjoy the process, that's all that matters. But if you want to step outside of your comfort zone, please feel encouraged and empowered to do that as well, because I do it all the time. So these 2 little 20-inch Bargellos that I made were started off from the blog post that I put in last week's video, and I will, after this video is posted and processed, I'll go get that link and I'll put it in the description box down below here too so you can see it. But I did make a couple of modifications, and I will put in last week's video and this week's video in the description box the modifications that I made. Once I started feeling comfortable with how I was sewing things together and what I was cutting, I found the strips that I wanted to cut that yielded this size for me. And the reason why I love that size is because, now hear me out here, wouldn't that be gorgeous as a quilted pillow cover? And oh my goodness, they're a mirror image. So could you picture one on one side of my couch and another on the other side of my couch? What? And wouldn't it be great if I just typed up what I did in a free download on my website? Maybe. I gotta find time to do that. But in the meantime, all you really needed to do were create your strips and then just make a whole bunch of cuts. Every single cut was a 1/4 inch apart. So there you go. That's what I made this week. Last week I started it. I got about halfway through one of them, and I didn't get it finished on the live. But then I sat here Saturday and worked on it some more, and I worked on it Sunday some more, and a little bit every evening after work. Spoiler alert, I just finished the second one minutes before I hit the go live button. And for those of you that are curious, how much fabric did I have left over from approximately 10 fat 8ths? All of this, my friends, is leftover scrap strip sets. Like, all of this is left over, which is plenty enough to do something else fun. You could just do all sorts of things. Maybe even a 3rd Bargello. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to test it. But I just want you to see the amount of scrap that you have left over from that project. So 10 fat 8ths, totally enough. Maybe 9 fat eighths of print, and then some yardage of your white or your color that's going to break it up. So didn't measure that. All right, let's see what we've got going on in the chat. I want to say hi to some friends that are here. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up until I'm done reading. Then we're going to get to my project. Crafty Panda, my friend Mary is here. Everybody give Mary some love. She is one of my very best friends. And she, as well as anybody else whose name is in blue, does have access to get a hold of me while I'm streaming. So if something needs to be brought to my attention, just tag her. She'll text me and it'll come right up. I'll get an audible alert. And there'll be about a 30-second to a minute delay from when she does that. So just keep that in mind. But that's your best way of getting a hold of me while I'm doing this. We also have some channel members in the chat. Channel members are folks that are on a monthly recurring basis sending in a tip through YouTube, and that's automated. It comes out of their bank account every month, and it helps support my channel financially, and I call you guys channel supporters. So those names are in green, and I just want to give a shout out to some of them that I see. I see Mike, who is a New York beauty, in the chat. I see Angela Christine. Gigi Quilts is here. Scrolling up, I thought I saw some more green names. Oh, Katie, the Greenland Quittler. Louise Croak. By the way, Louise, I did get your email with that bread recipe. I just didn't reply to it yet, but I did want you to know that I got it. Who else is in the chat that's green? Shelby, Math Geek is here. And I think that's all my green names tonight. Usually we've got a lot more green names that trickle in later in the evening, but I don't want to miss anyone. Okay, yep, I got everybody. All right, if you have a question for me, feel free to tag me as well. Mary says, "Mwah, my friend, I miss you terribly." Hey, listen, I am just a drive away, lady. Lily, aka Shaiba Quilt, did I pronounce that right? Says hello. Bill Imhoff, is he in the chat? I see somebody tagging him. Oh, yep, there he is. Bill Imhoff US dash Bill Imhoff. Hey, all. Hello, Bill. I thought I saw somebody tagging him. Lori says, I'm reading chat. See, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm reading messages to each other. You guys don't, like, you can read that. Like, that's fine. Let's just get on with the thing. You don't need to see me sit here and read all of your chats. So, I do have, you guys want to see a little bit of a mail haul, a little bit of package stuff? I picked up some packages. Let me tell you about that story. So Ian's moving to the area in less than 2 months. I'm trying to do the math in my head. I think it's like 8 weeks, 7 weeks. End of September, he will be in the Virginia area. And for those of you that are curious where he's going to be living, he will be within 15 minutes of my home, so there will be lots of time spent with Ian. I'm really excited to have him close by. And we've got all sorts of wonderful ideas to do all sorts of fun things, and I can't wait for that chapter of both of our lives to start. He's definitely, over the past few years that we have built our friendship, he has almost embedded himself right into my family. And my husband loves him, my daughter loves him, my parents love him, my sisters love him. Like he's absolutely great. He's a wonderful guy. So I'm really excited for him to be here. Though I do want to manage expectations a little bit. Just because he will be here does not mean that he will be on my live streams. Oh, I see it. Thank you. Does not mean that he'll be on my live streams all the time. So I won't be on all of his either. We're still going to have our own social media identities, but there will be some cross collab. I just got a text from Mary that says that somebody's telling me that one of my Bargello strips in this quilt is upside down. Now I see it. That's what I get for speeding through. It's the one right in the middle, right there. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So thank you for pointing that out. That's just a couple of seams. Actually, I just got to rip the seam on one side, rip the seam on the other side, and flip it and put it back in. So I'll work on that probably this weekend. So I might take that down so that when folks start trickling in later, they don't tell me that it's upside down. Now that I know it's upside down, hold on, it's this one. It's this one. There we go. We'll leave that. Thank you for letting me know. I will fix that later. Okay. Yeah, funny story. So Ian's moving here at the end of September, and one of the things that he has been doing is mailing You guys like my Wonder Woman pants? Always, always, always got to have the crazy house pants. Just want to get that up and running. Okay, there we go. All right, so he's moving here at the end of September, and one of the things that he's been trying to do is mail some of the things that he does not trust the movers to bring here. And so there have been several packages coming to my UPS box, some of which are things that he has ordered and just doesn't want them to come to his home so that he can pack them up and then bring them to this area. And some of them are things that he's like, please hold this very precious cargo for me until I get to the area and can get it into my place. And so we added his name to my P.O. box. So if you guys are trying to send him mail, you can use my P.O. box to do that. We added him to my P.O. box, and now he gets alerts when his packages arrive so he can keep track of them. Well, I had a package that had showed up, and I went to the UPS store to pick it up, and they came out with a pile of boxes. Pile of boxes. You know what was mine? This very lovely postcard. Which is from Anita, by the way. So thank you so much, Anita. I did get your postcard. I will be dropping one in the mail to you. Though, as we all know, I suck at mailing, so it might take me a little bit, but I will be sending one to thank you for the one that you sent to me. But he had a lot of boxes that were sent here, so that was funny. But the next day, we made up for it because I did get 2 packages, and I want to show you what those are. The first package that I want to show you is a destash that I got off of a Tula Pink destash site. She was destashing some fabric. And so I picked up a few things, and I'll show you what those are. I picked up a little bit of fabric of the sewing machine in this really pretty teal color. And then I got some of the safety pins that go with, I think these are 1/2 yard cuts a piece. And then I had never bought the banana fabric. Ian made a quilt out of this, but I liked the background and I thought, why not? So I got a fat quarter of this from Monkey Wrench and this from Monkey Wrench as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And to be completely honest with you, it was a fat quarter that was being destashed from Tula Pink's line. So it was definitely an expensive couple of fat quarters. So I'm definitely going to be holding on to that for the absolute perfect project. This line, I don't love the safety pin fabric, but I absolutely do love the sewing machine fabric. So this goes really nice with that. That's from her homemade line. So I'm going to put those in my stash. But this is what I thought was hilarious. If you guys remember back when Ian had come out to visit and he started working on a quilt and he pulled some yardage off of my shelves to put all of those charm pack squares together, he pulled this. I picked up a yard of this somewhere. I don't know where I got it. I just thought it was pretty. I didn't even know it was Tula Pink. He came in, he spotted it, he pulled it, and he was like, oh, you don't mind if I use that, do you? I was like, sure, why not? I can always get more. I couldn't get more. This was out of print. And come to find out, this in the graphite with the rainbow is highly coveted. Highly coveted. So much so that when he went around trying to find this fabric, he found the only thing that he could find was a 1/2 yard cut of it on Etsy for like $40. And someone blessed him with that purchase and sent it to him. So when I bought these fabrics, this is all I was expecting. I got a lovely note from the lady that sold these and said, I hope you enjoy this free fat quarter. You want to know what's hilarious? What Ian needed for that quilt was just a fat quarter of this fabric. So if he would have just waited like a year, he would have had the fabric for free. Well, I guess technically he did have it for free because he didn't buy it. Somebody blessed him with it, but I thought that was hilarious. So when I opened the package and I saw this as a freebie, I had to send it to him and I was like, oh, look what I got. Thank you. All right. The other piece of mail that I got is my puzzle mystery quilt. And maybe we'll work on this tonight. I don't know. You guys tell me. You tell me, puzzle mystery quilt or Zoey's quilt? Put it in the chat and we'll go with what majority says. The Wild Wild West Puzzle Mystery Quilt started shipping again, and I am not an ambassador for it this time around. I really didn't want to make the content for it. It was a little stressful to have that hanging over my head. I wanted to free myself up from it, but I wanted to enjoy the Puzzle Mystery Quilt, especially because I really like this colorway, and I'm going to show you which one it is in just a moment. I wanted to enjoy just doing this without the stress of making content or including it in live streams. I just wanted to enjoy the process. And so that's why I signed back up. There was a colorway that I kept eyeballing. I was like, I don't know, do I want to do that colorway or not? So this is the one that I chose. I can't remember the name of it, but that's what the fabrics are. This is clue number 1. And it is, where is it? There it is. It's called Delilah. That's the colorway. Oh, I really like it. And I'm excited to see how this is going to come together. So I bought myself an Oops kit. I signed up for the large. And I will be doing that off camera unless you guys want to see me put it together tonight. Let's see wow, lots of people are saying Zoey's quilt. Hey, there's Fallon. I haven't talked to you in a minute. We need to catch up, girl. All right, either one, but lots of Zoe's. And since I did tell my daughter that I would be working on her quilt tonight, Zoe's quilt wins. Let me just put all my stuff away and we'll get to sewing. All right, if you guys... Oh, Mary said, that's the one I was considering doing. I love that colorway. It's pretty, isn't it? It's very pretty. It's very pretty. If you guys have a channel and you want to promote yourself on the live stream tonight, feel free to do so. All you have to do is type !selfie in the live chat and your channel link will be dropped for everybody to check out. And then after the live stream's over, folks can hop over, check out your content, watch your videos, join you for a future live stream. Whatever works for you. Gotta put this stuff away. Definitely Zoey's quilt. All right, so with Jesus. Definitely Zoey's quilt. Got it. Well, all right, then if I'm going to definitely do Zoey's quilt, then you definitely need to know that I definitely don't have my fabric ready. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. So you're going to... join me while I figure out cutting. I have enough to make a few blocks. So we're going to work on these first. I'll work on that second. How many can I get? I need 4 of these 2.5-inch squares per block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 of these 5.5-inch squares. So there's 2 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can do 2 of those blocks. So we'll grab 2 elephants. And we'll go like this. All right. There we go. I'm going to get my ruler and my rotary cutter. Sharon Mullen says, hi, Becca. I kept messing lives. Ha! I made it. I so enjoy your lives. Thank you for being here. Again, if you want the step-by-step details on how I'm making this to include cutting instructions and everything, I did a block tutorial and a 1-hour live. I will link to that video in the description box down below so that you can go watch that video. It has all of the cutting instructions, but spoiler alert, I'm probably going to be telling you how to do it again. So if you just want to grab a notepad, grab a pen, you can jot this stuff down. I will tell you what your cutting instructions are per block. So for each block that you're going to cut the centerpiece, that elephant that's in the middle back there, 6.5 inches. And I did mine on point. So it's a 6.5-inch square that's on point. And then for the setting triangles that go around it, you're going to need 2 5.5-inch squares. And then for the snowballed corners, you're going to need 4 2.5-inch squares. Now those 2 5.5-inch squares that you cut for the setting triangles, once you've cut those 2 squares, you're going to cut it directly on the 45 from one corner down to the other. So your 2 squares should yield 4 triangles. And then we're just going to put this together. And those measurements, as you'll see while we're working through and putting all this together, those measurements are going to make the block bigger than needed so you can size it down. So it makes it really beginner friendly. I'll give you a quick overview of how I do this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put these triangles onto my square. And I want to make sure that I'm taking that long edge of my triangle and putting it up against the edge of my square. But I want this to be perfectly centered. And so I'm going to find the center points on each edge of my square, just like this. I'm just going to finger press that there. We're going to go to the 3 camera setup so you guys can kind of see all of it. And then I'm going to line up the edges over here and do the same thing on this side. I just do opposite sides each time. So then I'm going to pick up 2 triangles, fold these corners to touch along that long edge and finger press right in the middle. Do the same thing to a second one. And then if you really want to pin, you are welcome to do that. You don't have to. I'm going to take these 2 triangles and I'm going to match up those creases that I just made with my finger, put them directly on top of one another, and just put a pin right through that fabric, just like this. And then I like to do one in the middle and one on either side to hold everything nice and tight. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not normally a big pinner. I usually will just wing it and go with it. But you know what's happened since I started sewing on my 301? All of these little rules that everybody says you have to do when you sew, like pin, like use leaders and enders, like finger pressing, marking your thing, all of that stuff, I've just started doing. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I just have. You'll notice as I'm sewing this evening, I'm using a leader and ender. I actually had a question about that last week or maybe the week before. Why are you using leaders and enders now when you didn't use them before? Answer, I don't know. I don't know. I just am. So here we go. Let's get sewing. One of the things that I really like about this machine is the sound. So when I'm sewing, I'm probably going to be a little bit more on the quiet side so that you can enjoy the sound of the machine just as much as I am. Isn't that great? Somebody called it a water machine because it sounds like water flowing. I think it was Janine. There's something just soothing about that sound. Isn't that great? I love it. Once I have those 2 triangles sewn on, then I'm just going to finger press the fabric out so that the seam is underneath the triangle. I do use the tip of my fingernail to get that to lay relatively nice and flat. Now, if I wanted to, I could, and I'm going to bring a small pressing pad up so that you can see the entire process from the overhead. So let me get the small pressing mat. I've got so many pressing mats laying around here, it's not even funny. So I'm going to turn my iron on. Actually, one more thing. Let's pull this back over here so I can get to it easier without stretching with it. That'll work. All right. So once I have those pressed, you can continue sewing just by finger pressing, but I always like to heat press my things, my seams, because when I do that, it gets it really nice and flat. And the reason why that's important for this is because we're going to attach a triangle on this side and this side, and I want this to be laying as flat as possible. Okay. And while that's happening, I'll have a sip of my tea. don't like that tea. I don't like this tea. I might have to go change my beverage. It's a honey. It's one of the true honey teas. And when I bought it, I liked it. But there's something about this that just keeps tasting like spaghetti meat sauce. I don't like it. But it didn't taste like that when I bought it. I think it just might be really old. So Terry says, I needed a Teflon foot because of the slant. I got it on eBay. Maybe get one before you need it. Ooh, good point. I actually have a little box that I've been curating feet for my 301. I bought a zipper / cording foot. I have my 1/4 inch foot. I have my normal foot. And a Teflon foot has been one that I've been eyeballing. So thanks for that recommendation. All right, once that's sewn on, then, that aftertaste. Oh, it's nasty. I'm going to have to go get another drink. We're going to fold this in half, and I like to take my time to match up these seams because that's going to help make the block really, really straight. Finger crease right here. Christine says, my daughter went into my sewing area looking for pins, hair clips, small clips, big binder clips. Says, Mom, where are the doggone pins? Hello, Gladys. Salad dressing tea. No. Bye, Willow Creek. See you later. Louise says, if I haven't cleaned out the feed dogs, my first couple of stitches catch under the throat plate. I also find that I need to hold the upper and bobbin threads to the back of the machine when I start. I haven't had to hold the threads at the back of the machine, but I do that thing where the threads are tucked up under the foot. So as long as I have a good length there and they're underneath the foot, I don't need the leader and ender, but this I feel like saves me just a little bit of thread. Becca, have you made spaghetti sauce lately? Actually, yeah, we had it tonight. And it tastes just like that spaghetti sauce. So maybe it's, I don't know, whatever. It tastes like spaghetti sauce. I'm just going to go get straight up water. Just going to go get straight up water. Linda says, I have yards and yards of Tula, all kinds of lines. I really don't use much, but my grandkids always pick her fabric for when I make a quilt for them. My sister-in-law is a huge Tula fan, and I'll be honest, I don't love all of her stuff, but when I like one, I really like it. And I've been into some of the brighter colors lately. So if there's one that I like. But when I go shopping with my sister-in-law, she often will pick out fabric for me to do something for her, and she always gravitates to Tula. Always. I'm surrounded by Tula lovers. Okay, quiet guys, we're gonna sew. Look, I'm even clipping my threads. Mary's asking in the chat, did Zoe pick out her fabrics for her own quilt? And the answer to that is kind of. Kind of. She picked out the elephant fabric. So I knew she wanted me to make her an elephant quilt. That's what she had asked for. And so what I did is I picked out a few different pieces of fabric, yardage that had elephants on them, and I let her choose. And she ended up choosing this elephant. And what's interesting is this elephant print comes in two different colors. One that's more like a purpley pink, and then the blue one, she wanted the blue, only the blue. So I was like, okay, well, we'll have a very blue quilt then. The rest of the fabric I picked out on my own. I tried to find a pattern that worked for it. I found a pattern that I thought I was going to make, but then I was inspired by the pattern to make something else, and this is that something else. So there is no pattern for this exact quilt, though there are the tutorial video to show you how to make one block, and you can make this block however many times you want for whatever size project you want. Let me show you how I'm going to square this up. So this block, when it's all put together, should square to 9 inches, but it is bigger than 9 inches because remember I said I like to make them bigger and then size them down. And so what I'm going to do is find the 4.5 inch mark on my ruler and start that in this point up here and end it in this point down here. And when I do that, I should have over here, this point right here should come in right at the 1/4 inch mark. And so what I like to do is just clean up this side, rotate this 90 degrees, put that 4.5 inch mark back in the center, just right through there. This time, I should find that that fresh cut edge that's along the bottom should lay directly on a line on the ruler, and my point over here should still be at a 1/4 inch perfectly. I'll clean that up. I'm going to repeat that for the other two sides until this is all trimmed up. Now, if you have a square ruler that's 9.5 inches, you could use that, or bigger. You could use that if you wanted to. I think I do have one behind me, but I actually prefer these Quilter Select rulers. And all of my square rulers, with the exception of 1 or 2, are Creative Grids. And I don't know. I don't want to get another ruler. I can make it work with this one. I don't need to have every single ruler in every single size and every single shape. This ruler, I do 95% of my work with. I can square things up. I can cut strips. I can trim off a little bit. These are my two go-tos right now. This is an 8.5 by 12 inch Quilter Select ruler, and this is a 2.5 inch by 6.5 inch Quilter Select ruler. Between these two things, I kind of don't need anything else. All right, once we have our block at 9 inches squared, now we're going to put on the 4 squares in the 4 corners, and we're going to mark this. We're going to mark a diagonal on the wrong side of the fabric. We just want to make sure if we're working with directional fabric that when we put them right sides together and we pull it back, the fabric is going in the direction we want it to go in. And for the purpose of this quilt, I've been trying really hard to have all the stripes going up and down. And so that means I know when I put these in the 4 corners, when I'm laying it there, because of what'll happen when I flip it, the stripes need to go left to right, because when I flip it 45, then they'll go top to bottom. So I'm just going to use my little ruler and a marking pen to draw my diagonals on the back of these. Hello, Ruth. When is Tabby coming out? I think I saw some folks selling Tabby Road now. I think they had pre-orders and it was starting to ship and hit stores. So I'd say you're probably going to start seeing that pop up soon. So yeah, I had Tabby Road today. Awesome. Go to So Yeah. Okay. I know you can't really see these lines because it's the water-soluble pen. I don't know where my air-soluble pen went. That one would have shown up a little bit better. I'm not going to take time to pin. My lines are the way they need to be. I know how to lay it. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It'll be fine. These are a little hard for me to pin and get them to lay just the way I want them to be. So I'm just going to line up the raw edges as I go. Kathy says, I think you told us you visited Loving Stitches in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I shopped there yesterday. I'm in town visiting my brother right now. I did. What did you think of the store? What did you think? It was cute, right? Definitely a good selection. Janine says, my most used rulers are a 12.5 by 2.5 inch and a 4.5 inch square. Both are Quilter Select. Zaza said, the pinning lasted a long time. I'm already pinning again. Do you see how I was like, no, I'm not going to pin. And then I literally stopped and I was like, no, I'm going to pin. I'm going to pin. So you'll probably, I'm not going to say that I'm pinning 100% of the time, but one of the things that I have found with this machine, and it might be because it's not recessed down in a table, so all I have is this surface in front of me to work with. What I am finding is it's easier to keep the fabric lined up if I put a pin in it, and I think it's because the machine is up on top of the table, so I don't have a big flat surface to lay it on. I do have my extender table, my So Steady extender table that's designed to be on top of a table next to this. But I'm not using it because it gets in the way while I'm doing a live stream. I really prefer to have desktop where I can cut and press on the overhead camera where you can see everything that's going on. And if I bring that table over, it's going to go to right about here, and it's going to make it difficult for me to do all those things on camera. So I invested in the surround that's going to allow me to put Ruby inside of the table just like the Juki was, which means when that comes, Ruby will likely get promoted to the main event. Louis says, I'm visiting VA in a couple of weeks and plan to stop at Quilter's Corner since I'll be in town. Awesome. Where are you going to be in Virginia? You may have picked up on some of these stitches. I'm going back over a second time, and that's because with the marking utensil that I used, it's a blue ink on a blue fabric, and it's a little hard for me to see that blue line, and so after I've stitched, I'm finding that I wasn't as close to the blue line as I needed to be. I do want to show you a trick I've learned. I don't know if anybody else will teach you this, but this is my hack, this is my trick. So whenever I do snowballing or stitch and flips or whatever the case may be, I like to test them to make sure that they're sewn on properly. And the way I do that is put my finger between the two pieces of fabric and fold it over. And that flap should now finish this corner, this 90-degree corner, perfectly from the top and from the back. If I see something where it's too small, that means I sewed too far to the left of the line. If it's too big, then it means I sewed too far to the right of the line. And the trick for you is if it's too small from the front, you got to rip the seam and try again. But if it's too big, then you can just run it through your machine again and get a little bit closer. So if you are worried about your stitch and flips and you're trying to learn how to get them right on point, draw your line, stitch right next to that line, test it, see if it's where you want it to be. And if it's not, get a little bit closer, get a little bit closer, get a little bit closer. Just don't go over that line. The lighting for the camera on you looks a little darker tonight. All my lights are on. Is the video not good? Let me go over here. Everything looks good, right? I'm gonna go back over here. I don't know what that's about. It looks fine on my end. Maybe it's your device. Where's the lighting designer? Not here. All right, now I'm going to cut. Loretta says hello, hello, hello. Louise says she's going to be here in Midlothian. Awesome. Hope you enjoy your time in Virginia. How long will you be staying? Yvette says everything looks fine. Terry says it looks fine to me. Janine says, because you never know what the perfect ruler is going to make a difference in the project. Oh, Mary sent me a text, said, now everything looks good. It must just be that it's a smaller box. Yeah, that might be it too. All right, once I've got the snowballed corners on, then I'm going to flip this over. Patty says, I think it is the shadow of the machine on the sewing close-ups, making that view a bit... Oh, the autofocus. Okay, so when I move over... Ah, I see. It's the shadow. Yeah, it's a shadow. But I can't turn... Well, I could turn the light off. And you guys can see a little bit better that way. And I can see just fine. So maybe we'll try sewing with the light off and see if that helps with the lighting. And if it doesn't, we'll turn it back on and it'll be just fine. But you know what I got to do? I got to press my block because it's done. And I'm going to put it up on the design wall behind me. Do you guys like that? I have a little mini design wall hanging up behind me. But we're going to take a quick intermission break because I would like some water that does not taste like spaghetti sauce. So give me a minute. I'll go to this camera so you can enjoy the backdrop. Be right back. You guys are nuts. I see you all there trying to hide. The water tastes better, by the way, for those of you that are curious. So we're going to do up here. You did that last week too, didn't you? I walked out of the room and I came back and everybody yelled, "Surprise!" I see people are asking about Ruby. Ruby is my Singer 301. She was originally a 301, a tan one. She's built, was made in 1951. It is a short bed, for those of you that are curious. And I had her repainted by my friend Bill's dad. I do have his contact information if you're looking to have a vintage machine restored, repainted. Feel free to send me an email or Mary an email, Becca@sobecca.com or Mary@sobecca.com, and we'll be happy to get you his business contact information. You guys are so funny. Oh, wrong one. Let's do another block. Linda says, Becca, those are so cute. Thank you. Thank y'all. I need to put my hair up because my glasses are holding my hair and it's driving me crazy. Hello, Jan. She says hello from Central Texas. Hello, Jan. Hello, hello. So Blessed by Jess says, surprise! Linda says, I've been looking at those machines because of how it sounds. We're just going to do the ponytail right on top. Tomorrow, Zoe and I are going to get our hair cut in the afternoon. So this is the last week. I'll have crazy hair for a little while. And then we'll also be doing some back to school shopping. Oh my gosh, it is almost time for back to school. When did that happen? Carla says, your daughter's quilt is gorgeous. Rhonda said, excuse me, I thought it was a featherweight. That fancy paint job fooled me. I don't see many 301s with a custom paint job, but I got to tell you, this was not my idea. It was Ian's. So let me tell you the story of the 301. I know I've told this before, and there are going to be some of you that are like, I already heard this story, but I'm going to tell you again because it's a fun story. So Bill, who is in the chat, Bill Imhoff, his dad, as I said, restores vintage machines. And there is a white Singer featherweight that is occasionally when Bill hops on Zooms for the VIPs, you'll see that white Singer featherweight in the background of his video. And I teased him for a long time about that because I really thought it was gorgeous, still do. And I was like, Bill, when are you going to send me that white Singer featherweight? When are you going to send that to me? Huh? And obviously he didn't send it to me, but one day he did send me, he bought me a enamel pen, a white Singer featherweight enamel pen from the featherweight shop and had it mailed to me. And it's a kind of part of that inside joke. And I was like, okay, Bill, touche. Well, while we were at QuiltCon, we were talking about vintage machines and I brought up the white Singer featherweight again. He's like, you don't want a featherweight, Becca. I was like, I don't? He's like, no, what you want is a 301. And I was like, tell me more. And so he was like, the 301's a bit bigger, it's faster, and I think it's more of what you're looking for, but it still has the look and feel of a featherweight, the look, feel, and the sound of a featherweight. And I was like, oh. He said it's still portable, it's still light, but it's not a featherweight, it's a step up. I was like, okay. And then he said, and I think my dad has a white 301 that he might be willing to sell. Well, come to find out, it wasn't for sale. So when I came home from QuiltCon, I love to look at Facebook Marketplace just to see what's out there. Not always to buy, just like to browse, window shop, if you will. A lady, and I still haven't sent her the email, I need to do that, but a lady about 15 minutes away from me, she and her husband were selling 2 vintage sewing machines. One of them was the 301. So I picked up the 301 for $50 off Facebook Marketplace, and then I sent it down to Bill's dad to paint. And she sounds great, doesn't she? It's interesting. Like, I love my Juki and I love my long arm and I like the baby lock too. But none of those machines had a persona to me. This one does. With that light off, you can see the lighting looks a little bit better. I'm also going to go back to the 3 camera. Let me know if this works out better for you. I can still see everything just fine, but maybe you can see a little bit better too. And then I won't have the shadow casting up onto my chin. Underlighting is not flattering. Did Bill service it too to get it up to date or just paint it? No, he serviced it. It was in working order when I got it. So he didn't have to do much, but he is able to restore machines and he did grease it, oil it, and he looked at all the parts to make sure they were all working. There was a couple of small things that he replaced and then he tore it, like he pulled it all up, took it all apart, cleaned it up really good, greased it, oiled it, lubed it, replaced a couple of small minor things, put it back together, and of course painted it in the process. Can you show us the front of your red sweetie? I can. Let me finish this block and then I will, because it's a process with all the camera equipment and everything, but I'm happy to share it with you. I'm happy to show it off. I just need a moment. Tammy says, ooh, that is better. See, look at that. Okay, how about that? We'll just, when we're doing live streams, we have the light off. When we record videos, we'll have the light off. Now, there's a couple of videos that I've already recorded with the sewing with Ruby, a couple of tutorials that are coming out in the next few weeks. They are older videos. I've been working on them for a while. They will release soon. So when you see me sewing with the light on those videos, just remember that was before we decided that it was better with the light off. You're using leaders and enders because Ruby doesn't have a thread cutter, thereby avoiding thread clumps when starting to sew. What Elaine said. I do notice a better stitch when I do it that way. Katie says, are you finding the leaders and enders are necessary for the 301 or is it just something you started doing? I don't think they're necessary, Katie, but it does save me a little bit of thread. What I have noticed, and I'll show you as an example, let me get this off of here. If I put, as it was mentioned, there's not a thread cutter. So when I'm done sewing a seam, in order to make sure that I keep my needle threaded and I have my thread ready to go for the next piece, then I have to put my needle in the up position because this machine does not stop with it in a needle up or a needle down. It just stops. And then I have to lift my presser foot and pull this out so that I have a length of thread hanging off to the side. So I just come about to the edge here of this bed and I'll snip. And as long as I do that, I'm okay. I just make sure that those threads are going towards the back and put my foot down and then I can sew again. But I would have to do that action every single time I sew to make sure I'm getting a good stitch. And even in that case, look, I just broke a thread. It doesn't always work. So it's not, most of the time it does. I don't know why it didn't this time. I'm just going to rethread the needle. Most of the time it does if I do that, but I feel like it's a lot less finicky when I just use the leader and ender. I just start sewing on a little piece of scrap fabric and end my sewing in that little piece of scrap fabric. And there is no needle threader assister on this machine at all. You'd have to use a separate gadget entirely. So it can be a bit of a pain in the katukas to thread the needle. But eventually I usually get it. So I'm going to pull a bit of that off. I'm going to put it underneath my presser foot off to the back. And I'm just going to go right back to sewing on the leader and ender. So no, not necessary, but it does make it easier, and I would highly recommend it. It's honest. It's honestly one of those things where I feel like now that I've gotten into the habit of it, it's just going to happen when I go to the Juki. So I do keep a little pile of 2.5-inch squares over here that are just scrap fabrics. I fold them in half, and that becomes a leader and ender for quite a while. I know there are folks out there, I think Lori Holt is one of them, that recommend using 2.5-inch pieces, and every time they start a seam, they sew two 2.5-inch squares together. And so by the time they're done, like their leaders and enders is a seam in another quilt that they were putting together. I'm not there yet. That just seems like a lot that I'm not ready to take on. I'm just happy that I am sewing on little pieces of scraps. Tammy said, just like a kid, they say they won't and then they will. And then they say they will and then they won't. See? It was supposed to work and then it didn't. It'll be interesting once I get that table so I can set Ruby down in to the cabinet if I find I still have to pin everything. And somebody else had mentioned about with the leaders and enders, because you're snipping the thread right up against your fabric, you don't have those extra loose threads from your seams hanging on. And that's definitely true too. Ooh. All right, so I finished sewing that part of the block. I can snowball the corners in just a moment, but folks are asking if we can see the front of the machine. So I'm gonna go back to the one camera setup and we're gonna spin Ruby around so you can appreciate her. See how I can do this with the cords. So here we go. This is the machine. I will turn her towards you. There you go. That's the front of the machine. Ooh, ah. It did the cord is for my foot pedal started pulling the foot pedal back. So I got to put this back. And I'm still using the original foot pedal too. The one with just the button on it for my big toe. I'm not even like, and I kind of like it. I like sewing with my big toe instead of my whole foot. The table makes a huge difference, but I'm still a pinner because of not having the needle down, even though my hand automatically grabs and does needle down now. Yep. I've kind of learned like this whole playing with this and doing that, like it's a muscle memory, but it's a muscle memory that I love. I love this machine. Not sponsored. I seriously love this machine. Like, don't get me wrong. I love my Juki. I like sewing on my Juki. But there's something different about the 301. And I don't think I'm going back for a while. In fact, I've already made the decision that on my live streams and videos, this is going to be the machine that's most likely going to be in a lot of those, just because of the sound of the machine. Tell me this doesn't sound soothing. It has that sound that we want. It just purrs. And I just really enjoy sewing on her. So the cabinet, the surround that's going to come for the cabinet should be here hopefully in the next week or so. And then I can officially install her into my sewing cabinet. And then the Juki is going to move to my secondary table. She's going to get put over there so I can still use the Juki whenever I want to, instead of having it stowed down below and having to trade out machines all the time. I love sewing on both, but right now I'm still in my honeymoon phase here, and I just could not be happier. So Linda says, so when you sew, do you have a long loose thread? Sew for us a piece of fabric without sewing your finger. Like, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Let me just cut, and I'll get a new leader. I've got my threads. They're off to the back here. I'm going to fold this in half. I'll lift up my presser foot, and I'm just going to start stitching. I know what you were talking about, like you got to hold this because you don't want it to get sucked up, right? And then once that happens, I'll snip this just to keep it tidy, because if I don't snip that off, then it'll get wrapped around the foot as I put the leader back under the machine again. I'm going to start a second leader. I can always put it back in my leader box over there. And I'm just going to sew directly off of this onto the next one. And so what'll happen now is when I cut this off, when I cut it loose, I'm going to snip it right up against that thread so I don't have the extra threads from the seam hanging off either side. I do have it here, but when I can clean this up later. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let's put this back down there. And go back to, we don't even need the 3 camera, right? This is fine because we're not doing a whole lot of anything right now. We're just working on the same block and just chatting. So we'll leave this where it was. Okay, I need to do the trimming of the block and do my snowballed corners. The needle plate on the 301 though is a straight stitch only, so it just has a little hole on the throat plate. Yep, sure does. Zaza says, I just use the same 2 pieces of fabric over and over and over again. I usually do too. I get it until it's just so thick and stiff that it's time to move on to another piece. Honestly, 1 liter will last me a couple of projects, depending on how big the project is and how much stitching I'm doing. How many machines is too many? Jackie wants to know. There is no such thing as too many machines. I will tell you, in my sewing room, I have 1 long arm. I have a Singer hand crank. Ooh, this is not straight right there. I will have to re-sew that, re-square that. I have a Singer 301 that I'm actively using right now. I have my long arm. I have a hand crank, which is behind the design wall back there that I don't use. It's just decoration only. I have my baby lock, which is really my mom's machine, and my Juki. So 5 machines. Hello, Ian. Ian has a quilt at a local quilt show. I don't remember what the quilt show is, but Ian has a quilt show and it's 1 honorable mention. He also had 3 quilts at, I think it was not the state fair, at a quilt show last week. And of those 3 quilts, he won a ridiculous amount of ribbons. Every one of those quilts got at least 1 ribbon. You'll have to go check out his video to see what actually happened. And don't forget, those of you that have a YouTube channel and want to share your content with the world, please feel free to do so using !selfie. That'll drop a link to your channel in the chat so people can check you out. Where did my air-soluble pen go? I literally don't know where it went. Tarny says that is going to be so cute. How do you think it will look if you had a strip all the way across the fabric and then made the blocks in between? Like putting some negative space in between. Oh my gosh, wait a minute though. You guys, do you see the secondary pattern coming out that I see? Look at this block in the middle. Does that look like a star? Do you see the star? Ian, why did you say that? So I'm over here going, I have no idea where my air-soluble pen went. And Ian texted me, up your butt and around the corner. Child. You childish games. Childish games. Carla says, thank you so much for flipping Ruby around. She is so lovely. You're very welcome. I'm happy to share her with the world. I love her to death. I see the hourglass, but look at the center block. Those hourglasses here, 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 and here on camera to me pops a star. I saw the hourglass right away when I was only looking at just a couple of them, right? You can see the hourglass, but then when you see the 4 hourglasses around the one, then it takes on a third pattern. So you got a secondary pattern and a third pattern. Mark the fabric. Becky says, I love Ruby. Me too. Me too, Boo. I do too. Oh, Ruby, don't take your love to town. I feel like that, if it wasn't for a copyright strike and all the royalties and all the other things, I would totally make that my theme song for the live stream, but I can't. So Fun Creation says, I see the star. I do too. He's so pretty. can hear a Kumu in the other room barking. He must be trying to get Beetlejuice to play with him. Oh, Akumu, joke's on you. No one wants to play with you right now. Folks are saying, I don't see the star. Hold on a second. I'll help you see it. I just gotta finish cutting off all of these little bits. And then I'll press the block and I'll point out the star while I'm standing over there to maybe make it pop a little bit more for you. Okay, because I gotta go put this over on the thing. Okay, so the star. If you're looking at the quilt, right here is the hourglass block that folks are seeing. But if you look at the hourglass here, 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 and here, these pieces, you can see it a little bit better down here. It starts to form kind of like a, not traditional star legs. They're kind of off pointing out. So you got a set of star legs here, a set up here, a set over here, a set over here. Right now you can see the bow tie or the hourglass block. But when you get 4 blocks together, you'll get these stars popping out. It'll be interesting to see if that star right here still pops at me after I get more blocks filled in. So I'd love to like fill in here, here, here. Like I want to get it to where I have like 12 or 16 together to see if that still stays. And I'll tell you, like when I'm looking at it right here, it doesn't pop as much, but on camera, it pops. Like when I'm looking at the computer screen, I can see that prominently pointing out at me. This is one of the reasons why I feel like when it comes to laying out your quilt blocks or auditioning your fabric or really just trying to come up with how you want to put your stuff together, using your phone to take a picture forces you to take a step back and look at it without staring at it a foot away. Because when you look at this quilt, you're not going to be looking at it a foot away all the time. You're going to take a few steps back and you're going to look at it. So yeah, that's really fun. Mary says, they're kind of off kilter like someone else we know and love. Put that block on the 3rd row. I can't. It's not the same block. So you'll look at how this comes together, right? So you have the elephant with the dot and then the square, the stripes in the corners. And then you have the elephant with the stripe around it and the dots in the corners, and it's alternating. This one that I just sewed here has the stripes in the corner, which is the same exact block as this. So if I put this into the 3rd row like this, I don't get the same effect. Now what I could do, and it's kind of fun, is I could put these, like I could make this, I could frame all of them. No, that won't even work either. No, that won't work either. But I could do something like this. Let's see. And that'll make this pop a little bit more. So if I took this row and put it up here, then I could make this one big block right? Where I have this in the center, and then around it are the ones with just the polka dot stripe, and it would make this kind of like, it would make this pop a little bit more, but then this does not become a star because this triangle is not it's not the dot. It's the dot snowball. It's this hourglass piece right here that is causing that secondary effect. So yeah, I can't put this one there, but I could put it over here. If I move everything over to the left a little bit, I could put it off to the right on the third row. And maybe that's what you meant. Like this. I hope that helps. In order to fill it out, I need to make 3 more with the dot as the snowballed corner, which means the frame has to be the stripe. I need to make 3 more of this block to make that 9 patch go together. Yep, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do another one of those. Okay. 2. I just got to cut a couple more squares of this 5.5 inch so I can cut that on the diagonal. The good thing is all of the elephants are already cut. They're already fussy cut. They're ready to go. I just need to cut some more of my stripes so I can cut that on the diagonal. And I don't have it starched, so I will have to starch before I cut out the squares. But that won't take very long. Not long at all. Hello, Kathy. You will lose your star if you move it. I think it's perfect the way you have it. Thank you, Mama J Enterprises. Now, I'm going to tell you with this blue stripe, it is directional. And so when I'm cutting my squares and then cutting them on the diagonal, I need 2 squares, but each time I cut on the diagonal, I'm doing a mirror image so that the stripes are all going the same way. Joy says, ask your daughter what she likes. Jan Briggs says, has your daughter seen it? Does she like it? She has seen just a few of the blocks put together and she likes it. I told her it looks to me a little bit like a circus. Reminds me kind of a circus. And she said she could see that. Honestly, I think she's just excited because it's blue, which is one of her favorite colors. She likes blue. She likes red too. And she loves elephants. So I think she's just excited that it's an elephant, and I think she's just excited that I'm making something for her. I don't think she's like, this isn't the most exciting thing in her life, but I think she'll be happy with anything that I make as long as it has the blue elephants in it. Personally, I think this quilt is busy as heck. I really do. I think it is super, super busy. You've got a stripe, you've got the dot, you've got the busy elephant print, which, by the way, I don't even think you can see on the wall behind me. That elephant fabric feels a little lost a bit, but when you bring it up close, it pops out. It is busy. It is busy, but she likes it, and it's an easy quilt to do. So I just got to make 80 of these blocks, 40 of one and 40 of the other. Serena's asking, did you name it? Yeah, I've been referring to it as Elephants on Parade because that's what it looks like to me. All of the elephants are going in the same way. They're all going in the same direction, and it just feels like the elephants are all marching. But I think by the time it's done, it could also be under the big top because it looks like a circus quilt. Barbara says, the pattern is great. Love the secondary and tertiary designs. Do you have any ideas for the backing? Maybe cuddle. Yes, yes. It'll be a minky for sure. I will be sending this off to my good friend Beth, who does all of my long arm quilting, well, most of it. Sometimes Tiffany does some for me. But she does long arm quilting when I can't be bothered or don't want to, and so this will definitely be a job I bless her with, especially because we know we want Minky on the back. Okay. Bill says, it's very stimulating though. Very Tula and very Zoey. Yep. I have one 5.5 inch square already, so I'm just going to cut 3 more. And then I'll square these down to 5.5 inch squares because they're not there now. It's just a strip of fabric that I've been cutting 5.5 inch pieces off of. And then I will cut on my diagonal and I will whip these blocks together and put them up on the design wall and see what this starts to look like when it's all pieced. Well, not pieced, but when I have multiple blocks all going together. Be interesting to see how it comes together, right? Moda Minky is really nice to work with, Shelly says. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Shelly. I just know she's got some sensory issues. Not issues. Why do we say issues like it's a bad thing? Because somebody doesn't process or deal with something the way that other people do does not mean that they have an issue. But she does have sensory, she is sensitive to touch. She is sensitive to sound, to smell, to taste. She has very sensitive sensory senses, whatever the word is. But having that cuddle on the back will be really soothing for her. And it'll give it an extra weight, which will make it feel a little bit more like a weighted blanket, especially because, and I know somebody's going to ask in the chat, are you going to put batting in it? Yep. There'll be batting plus Minky plus the quilt top. So it'll be a little heavy. All right. So because I'm making enough to make 2 of the blocks, I'm going to do everything in sets of 2. And this is what I was talking about before. I need to cut these mirror image. So 2 of them I'm going to cut from top left down to lower right, and 2 of them I'm going to cut from top right down to lower left. That's going to give me my mirrored image triangles. So I'll have 8 altogether. 2 of each one will be for each quilt block. So we have those. And then we have those. Okay. And now we're going to grab 2 more elephants and we'll put 2 blocks together. Lickety split. Moda snuggle, not Minky. Got it. Moda calls theirs snuggle, not Minky or cuddle. Got it. Thank you. To make sure you're putting the triangles on the right way, you can set your block here and then lay out the triangles to make sure the directional fabric is all going in the right way. In my case, it is. So now that I've laid it out, everything is where I want it to be. Now I'm going to do that same thing that I did before, where I find the center, sew these triangles on, press it out, and then sew on the other 2. I'm going to try to move a little bit quicker here, so I'm not going to stop and pin as much as I was before. But if I start to see that I'm veering off or having issues, then I'm going to stop and use some pins, at least one in the middle. Brenda says she loves weighted covers. I do too. But I get hot at night, and so I like having the room cold so that I can sleep under weighted covers. Ooh, Brenda says she's allergic to certain dyes, mostly denim, thank goodness. Oh, that's a thing. Bobby says, my husband says he could care less for the quilt. He just thinks it's cool that you're wearing WWF joggers. Well, sorry, but I'm going to be a disappointment to your husband because it's actually Wonder Woman pants. They're Wonder Woman pajama pants from Walmart. Flicky Chicky says, my weighted covers are of the canine sort. Linda says, me too. I'm a hot sleeper. I want cold sheets, a fan, cold room, and my cozy blankets. Linda, we would get along famously. We could be roommates. Angel says, the great thing about them is you can't tell they are pajama pants. Well, I just told y'all they were pajama pants, so I guess secret's out. House pants? Maybe we call them house pants. All right. Sophie says, hi everyone, I just gave up on sleeping after waking up in the middle of the night, so I thought I'd join a bit from the UK. Hello, Sophie. I'm sorry that you can't sleep, but welcome to the fun. We're making some elephant blocks. It'll be interesting once I get one more of these blocks up. I can't wait to see what it does to the design wall behind me. But first, we've got to snowball the four corners. This quilt is wanting me to make a Deadpool quilt. Okay. I don't see how this reads Deadpool, but maybe I'm glad you do. That's the beauty about art, right? Like it inspires everybody differently. You all see things different. Some people are gonna look at that and be like, too much blue, too busy, not a fan. Other people are gonna look at it and be like, okay, I see. I love everything about it. Margie says, hi, is that Tula? I joined late. I just bought some Tula fat quarters today from So Yeah. Awesome. Enjoy those Tula fat quarters. And yes, it is Tula Pink. All of the fabrics in this quilt are from her, at least right now. It could change in the future, but they are from her, is it the Everglow line? I think that's what it was. I'm using the tent stripe in blue, the polka dots in blue, and then I'm using the blue elephants. Hello, Donna. Donna Forrest says, I'm just tuning in. What are you making? I'm making some elephant blocks, which you can see here behind me, using some Tula Pink fabric to make a queen size quilt for my daughter. Loving the elephant blocks. Also, have you talked about the Bargello block that is casually hanging out after last week's video? Yes, I did at the beginning of the video. So I was able to finish that Bargello block, and I made a second one that is a mirror image, although there is a mistake in it. So I pulled it down so you can't see it because I didn't want to have to. I knew folks were going to trickle in. No, a lot of people don't stick around for the entire live. I don't blame you. You tune in for the amount of time that you have. Come late, stay, come early, leave early, whatever works for your schedule. I'm just honored that you're here for 5 minutes of it, right? Like, if you can be here for the whole thing, super kudos. But if you're only here for what you have, that's fine too. But when that happens, because it's a revolving door on a live stream, right? Usually the questions or the things that you talk about once, you end up repeating throughout the entire live stream, and you can't get mad at it because you're the one that chose to be on a live stream. It is a revolving door, so you just have to manage that expectation. And so I knew folks were going to help me out with that one and point out that the strip was upside down repeatedly. And it wouldn't be, there's no reason to get frustrated at it because they're just trying to help. And so I pulled it down so I didn't have to keep answering that. But I do have two. So with the 9 fat 8s plus a little bit of yardage for that white, for that color that you're setting it off on, you can make two 20-inch Bargellos, which would be a perfect size for a quilted pillow cover. Aw, thank you, Jean. She says, I believe it looks beautiful. All right, let's put this one here. Does that help that star kind of pop a little bit more now? I've got to do 2 up there. Hello, Jewel. Oh, and it's 9:30, so I'm going to pause, and we're going to take a look. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because I've been doing this for a minute, and we have not done a show and tell for a while. So why don't you guys do exclamation Facebook in the chat and post photos of what you guys have been working on over in the Facebook group in about 2 minutes. we'll hop over there and we'll do a little screen share to see what you guys have been working on, because I like to be inspired by what you're doing too. This is a two-way street. I'm inspiring you, but you need to inspire me. Come on. So, also, I'm going to try, because I have so much room on here, we're going to try, because my seam ripper is my friend, and if it doesn't work, then I can always tear it out. I'm going to try to put the triangles on without finding dead center, because they are oversized. I just want to see if I can find a shortcut. I like shortcuts. I'm just eyeballing dead center. So as long as I have about the same amount hanging off of either end, it should be okay. Ha! Got you. Stupid. Little gnats. They come in the summer. Becky says, I'm amazed you don't pin and things come out accurately. Well, the secret to not pinning and having things come out decent is knowing how to hold the fabric under the machine. It's a very, very light touch. I'm not fighting the feed dogs, and I'm not going to keep sewing. You'll notice I'm sewing, stopping, and readjusting every couple inches. If I take the time to pin, then I can go a lot longer. But my mom, even when she stops and readjusts, I know what you're talking about. She can't get it accurate. She has to pin, or her seams they're not good. Did Zoe pick out the fabric and her color is blue? Her favorite color, I don't know if it's necessarily blue. I know she likes the blue, but yes, she did pick out the fabric. Mama J Enterprises says, those darn gnats have been terrible here since the hurricane. I have gnat traps all over the place. I've got one in the sewing room that it emits like a blue light, and it helps, but you know, when you're on live stream and you have all these really bright daylight lights going, that they're not attracted to that blue light. They're like, it's daytime, let's party. And I only had like 2, and I just killed one, so. After the live stream, I'll turn off the lights and they'll be gone by tomorrow, hopefully. Linda says, well, it's garden time for me. I've been canning, am on a little break from sewing. It's always nice to have different hobbies that you can bounce between, different passions that get you excited. Mary says, time has just flown tonight, Becca. Has it? I know, right? I have a vet appointment at 8:30 in the morning. Just regular routine shots. And then Zoe and I are going to get our hair cut, and then we're going to do some back to school shopping. And we'll have a movie night with the family. It's going to be great. Are the stripes correct? Yes, the stripes are correct. I'm going to snowball this last block before we do the Facebook look, just because I'm dying to see one more block put up on that, put up over there. And it won't take long to snowball the, with the dots. How are you liking the Singer machine? Jules asking. I absolutely love it. I did not think I was going to fall in love with a vintage machine, but here I am. Here I am. I still love my Juki, but there's just something about this machine. There's just something about it. You can't help who you fall in love with. I just fell in love with Ruby. Okay. Mary says, sounds like you ladies have a fun day planned tomorrow. I will finally be tackling the shelving in my sewing room. Yay, Mary! You've been wanting to do that for months. I'm so excited for you. Don't forget exclamation Facebook. In the chat, we'll get you a link to the Facebook group so you can take a photo of what you've been working on tonight. I'd love to see your creations. Tracy says, I made 4 batches of jam today. 2 raspberry, which is my favorite, and 2 strawberry. Doreen says, I am late. How is your singer doing? She's doing marvelous, and she's probably going to be around a whole lot longer. Didn't you buy another Juki at QuiltCon? I did, and I sold a Juki. I bought one, and then I sold one. I was going to sell it when I went to Quilt Retreat, and then I decided, no, I'm not going to sell it. And then when I got the singer, I was like, nah, I'm going to sell it. So I just sold it locally, so I didn't have to worry about shipping or coordinating pickup or anything like that. So I wasn't gonna, and then I did. So I have one Juki, the singer, the baby lock, the handy quilter, and then the hand crank behind me. Candace says, I am back in Pennsylvania getting my daughter set up for the start of a new school year in college. Planning on heading up some quilt shops in Lancaster tomorrow. Awesome. Enjoy. Two more seams, then we'll cut, press, and I'll put it on the design wall, and we'll go look at Facebook. Did the singer come in a case? No, she didn't. They did not have a case. In fact, it didn't even have the short bed on it. I had to buy one off of Amazon. I'm sorry, not Amazon, eBay. And Bob, who's the gentleman that cleaned her up, oiled her, and painted her for me, attached the short bed for me. I think the lady that had her recessed down in a table for it. Yeah, he did. So Bill put in the chat, Dad said he has to get automotive spray booth set up so that he can tackle Sylvia for Ian and Ruby version 2.0. So for those of you that are asking about the painting, having Bob, that's Bill's dad, paint your machine, I do want to let you know that he painted this machine with Rust-Oleum, and we've seen issues where the paint is flaking in some areas. He was using automotive paint, but wanted to try the Rust-Oleum just to see if it would work out. So this was This was a test. It was a test. And we have determined, he has determined, based on the feedback that I've given him and the pictures I've shown him, that the Rust-Oleum is not a good match for painting the machine. And so he's going to be switching to using automotive paint. It's probably a little bit pricier, I guess. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more complicated to work with. I'm speaking completely out of my butt because I really have no idea. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because Bill put in the chat Ruby version 2.0. At some point in the future, I don't know when, she's sewing just fine, so I don't want to do it right now. And I love sewing on her, so I don't want to give her up. Probably after Ian gets his machine painted and we see how it holds up. I will be sending Ruby back down to Bob for a fresh coat of paint, and he'll be taking the Rust-Oleum off and putting the same color red on in automotive paint. And while that happens, we'll be sewing on the Juki for a while, and that'll be completely fine. Or maybe I'll borrow Ian's 301. Anyway, I joke. But yeah, that's what he meant by 2.0. I'm not getting another one, but Ruby will have to go in for some touch-ups. All right, let's hop over to the Facebook group, see what y'all have been working on. I can't wait. Joni Duffy says, hi, I just finished my first project bag with clear vinyl window. It's functional. Next time I will work on the aesthetics. LOL. Sewing with clear vinyl is fun once I got the hang of it. Let me open over here. Over here. We're over here now. We're over here now. We're over here now, people. Not you. I just got to go to the Facebook group. All right, and then over here, we're going to go to Sew and Tell. And, oh, there we go. We want to, Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. I don't want the primary display. I want Safari, Facebook. That's what I want. I don't want to show you guys the chat. Gosh, you can see the chat on your own. Sophie's talking to Zaza, so we'll let that go. All right, let's go take a look at what's going on in the Facebook group. Sonia Kennedy, we've got you, so if you want to share a photo of what you're working on. I'm going to start with new posts. This is from Terry. It's been a busy week. I made this mini backpack for my daughter by request. Hold on. I see this needs to go away. Go away. I don't know why it does that. Okay. Anyway, she said, this has been a busy week. I made this backpack for my daughter by request. Also 2 dresses for Project Dress a Girl 2024. Also clear coated another featherweight. We'll reassemble it tomorrow if I have time. So this is what she's been working on. Oh, goodness. I didn't mean to yawn. I'm so sorry. Pretty. Juanita says, I'm starting on my mom a mini quilt. She loves animals, so I'm trying the newest Missouri Star pattern from today's video. And those are little dog prints on the fabric. Folks are asking what model machine this is. It is a Singer 301. Folks are saying the automotive and Rust-Oleum need a clear coat on top of it or it will chip out. This does have a clear coat on top of it. It's still chipping out, not flaking off on its own, but anytime it comes into contact with something, it could be that maybe there's not enough clear coat on here. I don't know. But I'm not the one painting it, so we'll let Bob do his thing. Janine says, I've been working on a cross-stitch project tonight during the live. Happy Friday, y'all! I'm getting my step outs ready for a class. I'll be teaching it. So yeah, in a couple of weeks. Awesome. Congratulations. Going to make this one in red, green, and white. And I love the quilt that you're working on. Oh, so nice. So beautiful. I love it. And this is the quilt. Oh, I love that. Is that going to be in person at So Yeah, or is it going to be on Zoom? And if it's on Zoom, drop Drop the link and maybe one of the moderators can, or just, you know what, you can't do links, can you? If it's on Zoom, let us know and maybe folks can go register for that class. Katie says she's binding 4 charity quilts. Donna says she's got the top and bottom flying geese borders. They're sewn and she's putting them on now while watching the live, trying to finish 2 quilts for the Varen's Quilt Guild quilt show coming up at the end of the month. I have 4 quilts that will be in the show. This is one that she worked on while we were at retreat in Alabama. So that's really, it's nice to see it to come together. Mary wrote, "You finished it, yay!" Kathy Hoffman says, "It's, hi, I'm so fun creations." And this is her quilt. Beautiful. Norma Lovelace says she's working on adding borders. Oh, what a beautiful quilt. Oh, I love the block in the lower left, right down here. Pamela Heffron says that she made a messenger bag and she's showing off her Showering Stars quilt top. That's a beautiful bag. Oh, so pretty. I love the lining. Oh, look at your Showering Stars quilt. Oh, so pretty. Tammy has posted this pretty quilt. Look at, oh, okay. You guys, I was like, look, she did curved piecing, but she didn't. Take a look at what she did here. So she fussy cut out the dinosaurs. Is that a Triceratops? I think so. So that they're kind of going through the middle and it looks like there's motion and it's the print that's giving it that curved effect. And then she's alternated them with 2 different blocks. You've got this and then this. Can you see my arrow? Yeah, you can. Okay, you can see my mouse when I'm pointing at it. But for a minute I thought she did curved piecing until I realized what the fabric was. Carol says, a quilt made for our next door neighbor's baby girl. Oh, pretty flowers. And she quilted it with hearts. I see it. Sophie says, very rough and ready. Here is one of the blocks that is going into my mom's 80th birthday quilt and the top for my niece's 21st birthday quilt, both in the same week in early September. I am on a timetable. And there's a little fur baby cuddling with the quilt blocks. I recognize that fabric. I bought some of that yardage with the owls because my sister loves owls. Amanda says the start to an MFQC scattered quilt, or what I do with random petites. Linda says that she did the professional tote. It's a pattern she made while watching Laura Lynn on Mom and Pop's channel. Wonderful. Love it. You guys, don't forget Mom and Pop does a live stream, I believe, every Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure to check them out tomorrow. I'm hoping they're going to be live tomorrow. Yvette says, I stopped putting together the orange picot. It's almost bedtime. I stopped putting together the orange picot top so that I could get the borders on my Star of Wonder quilt. I love the quilt on the left. That's really pretty. Jacqueline Kolb says she's working on Halloween creations. Amanda has got her start for her Mojave Farm Quilt Company quilt along for the Buffalo Stars. Lily took part in an Instagram swap, and these are the things that she sent to her swap partner, really getting into bag making. Nice job on this curved bag. I'm going to tell you, I tried to make that bag. It was a hot mess, and I threw it out. There was no coming back from it. Like, it was not even a functional bag. It wasn't just an ugly bag. Like, it was twisted. It just, I messed it up. It was so bad. I need to try it again one of these days. It might have also been because when I started it, it was like 11 o'clock at night and I was super, super tired and probably shouldn't have started a project. Angela says, no new projects, but finally got my new sewing storage cabinet in my sewing room. Only took 2 weeks. I'm going to have to stop looking at Facebook. It's making me tired. No new projects, but I finally got my new sewing storage cabinet in my sewing room. Only took 2 weeks. I had to rearrange 3/4 of the room. And Thea started this during the VIP Zoom and finished it up on the live stream today, hoping to get it quilted this weekend so I can send it to So Yeah's Quilt Drive. Don't forget, I think those are due, they're due this month, but I don't remember what day. So if you've got quilts that you're going to donate, get them in the mail soon. Jill Chappell says, I just finished making a quilt and a wall hanging. Aw. I like that back. Hi, Jill. It's so nice to see names with faces. Holly says, it's been a productive sewing week. I finally got my garden quilt all put together, got my July month done for fabric patch temperature quilt, made the pine grow spec August's drop block for the Wonderfills bird watcher block of the month, and came across a mini H bag pattern I bought a while back and decided to give it a go. Just waiting on the wooden dowels to arrive tomorrow to finish it up. I stole one dowel that I could find from a shelf in my sewing room for the picture. Ooh, Tula fabric. Ooh, beautiful flowers. Cool. Oh, wow. What a neat idea. That must be the temperature quilt. Karen says, this is what I was binding. This week I was binding 2 quilts, so that means both are done. Yeah! Congratulations. Roberta says, my Friday night sew and show, Jacob's Ladder in primary colors, been working on it this week. I love a Jacob's Ladder. Oh, hello. Alexandra Burns says, today I met Jenny Doan, Natalie, and Misty at the Festival of Quilt. I got a couple of my EPP blocks signed, and Natalie loved my EPP jacket. I was so starstruck, and they are all so lovely. They're wonderful people. They're great. Look. Yay, good picture. Oh, I love it. Ah, they signed your blocks. What a great idea. Oh, that's so cool. All right. We're going to refresh. I'm just going to look and see if anything came in the last minute or two. All this yawning's getting to me, and I'm ready for bed. Tracy says that she's making her first string block quilt with kaif and black and white. That's a neat idea to kind of calm down that kaif fabric. Sonia said the fabric did the work for me and easy, but I'm new at this. It looks great. You did a good job. Give yourself credit. Megan says, update from last week. I finished the stackable books. Next is finalizing the layout, adding sashing, and then the top is done. Melissa is making 9 Operation Penguin Honor Flag lap quilts. Wow. And that's a neat block for that. Katie is doing a scrap improv block with batiks. Love it. Nice job, Katie. And then we're back to the beginning. And I know there are other things. I know there are other pictures in there that were posted earlier tonight. I honestly just am not going to get to them because it's 10 o'clock and I'm ready for bed. So I'm going to check on something really quick before we do anything. Waiting for the keyboard to connect. I don't know. No. Okay. Never mind. We'll do it some other time. I was looking to see if there was a channel that was going to be live right after mine. I was going to dump everybody over to, but the one that I had in mind does not seem to have a scheduled live and hasn't been on a live in a couple of weeks. So maybe Maybe next week that'll be different. Thank you, friends, so much for hanging out with me. I had a blast. I think this quilt is going to be beautiful when it's all done. I can't wait to share the progress with you. That's all I got. I'm going to bed. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye, friends.